Hey everyone, Allie here. I've got a lot of updates. As you know, I had my first appointment with my Lyme doctor out of state on Tuesday. And me and my husband traveled, and it was about 5 hours away from our house. And everything we already knew was basically confirmed. And he said I'm actually out of all the patients he's ever treated, including an acting president, I'm in his top 5% of worst patients he's ever seen. Sickest people he's ever seen, which was kind of a surprise. And he said the spinal tap is almost like out of this world because about 3% of patients he's seen have a positive spinal tap and have it in their brain and spine showing up. So he said, I'm definitely a rare commodity. And even though, as you can tell right now, I don't exactly look that sick, but I'm one of the sickest people he's ever treated. So it's just kind of crazy. I mean, like, it's really hard to think. He confirmed everything, and then he basically told me, you need to take antibiotics right away, and we need to put a port in ASAP. But since he's out of state, he cannot prescribe in state, so he's trying to link me to a doctor in state at this point that can prescribe it. So insurance referred me to this doctor in Houston, which might be able to install the port, which would be really good, and pay for the first month of antibiotics. But as you know, insurance will only cover up to 28 days of IV antibiotics, even though it's 100% indicated because of those CDC regulations. But, I can get oral antibiotics basically for forever, but like I have a million of them here. I literally, I'm 30 years old, 31, and I take almost 20 prescriptions a day, which is pretty insane. But that would save us a lot of money if insurance can cover the port installation, because it'll be about $15,000 out of pocket and about 3 to 5K a month if they can't cover anything. But the holdup on getting my meds filled was we were waiting for the Malaron Atovaquan Proguanol, I can't even say it, to be filled. Because, even though 350,000 Americans are contracting Lyme disease a year, none of these pharmacies have malaria medicines on stock. The reason I need malaria medicine is because not only in addition to CNS Lyme disease, I have multiple co-infections, he said, which have been building up over time, which actually explains a lot of things, like a lot of weird things that have been happening to me, like this streaky rib cage issues and abdominal pain I've been having is Bartonella, and the swollen spleen is Babesia, which is in the family of malaria. Which, because when a tick bites you, it doesn't mean you're going to get Lyme, but you can get not only Lyme, you can get like over, I think they said 100 different strains of co-infections, and it makes it more severe, which is why I'm one of the worst off patients he's ever seen. And, it's not even just how sick I am, just the story of how I got to be here, all the misdiagnoses and all the times it could have been caught. Like, when I was in the military, like, I just had, like, I don't even know. They tried to the military psych doc tried to diagnose me with BPD because I basically went in there and told them, I don't feel like myself. I feel like out of body. I feel like I'm kind of like my whole life is kind of like watching a movie, but it's like I'm looking at things, but it's almost like I'm looking at things through my eyes from like a distance. Like it's like everything in life is like watching a slow motion movie, and like I don't feel like I'm in my own body, and they just marked that as BPD after talking to me for 2 minutes. And I said, okay, I don't even have a fifth of these issues on the list, but yeah, that was their diagnosis, and apparently many, many, many people are misdiagnosed with BPD before Lyme disease, and there's definitely a link. Because I mean, I'm not a selfish person, but this disease almost makes you have to think about yourself all the time. Because if I slip up even once, if I don't eat right once, if I don't work out, well, I mean, obviously I haven't been able to work out for a few years, but if I didn't take care of myself, I would be deathly ill for a few months, and they would never be able to figure it out. And the weirdest thing is about, like, I would have these, like, severe infections, like SIBO and C. diff, and, like, pelvic inflammatory disease, like, all these, like, weird, random, systematic infections, like, all over, just for, like, months at a time, and I would never have a fever for the last 20 years. And he said, your immune system's been so suppressed for so long. Like, the Babesia and the Bartonella would give me a fever, but the Lyme is suppressing everything. So it's kind of just like, this disease is amazing in the fact that it can hide so well. I mean, obviously, like, I don't look like I'm dying, because I am dying, though. Like, the only reason I even have makeup on today is because, one of my best friends graduated from college, from nursing school today, and I went to her graduation to support her, and I actually held off I'm about to start this medication after we're finished talking. I have about 4 different antibiotics to start off slowly with, and some sleeping pills, and some gabapentin for the nerve pain, which is something I've actually been asking for about a year now for my neurologist, but he didn't want to give me anything to deal with the nerve pain until they knew what it was. And then the second we got that spinal tap back and knew what it was, he couldn't treat me anymore. So he didn't even know how to deal with CNS Lyme. So there's just like a lot of crazy things, like, I've literally just been living in pain for years, and they finally figured it out, and it took me driving out of state and going to this doctor to still get help, and he still can't even completely help me due to, laws against prescribing out of state. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but basically that was that, and I'm going to start this treatment, and he said, be prepared to feel like very sick, like you're going through chemotherapy, and like you've got the flu, and like just very bad. It was actually kind of funny at my friend's graduation tonight. The guy that oversees all this group of hospitals in Dallas, that was one of the hospitals that actually, the one that admitted me for days in April, because I had that fake stroke and I couldn't move or talk or walk or anything, and he claimed that their hospital was the best at diagnosing infectious diseases and that their staff is amazing, nationwide recognition. And I mean, they only did an MRI of my brain and some blood work, denied my spinal tap, and wouldn't even they lied about doing an MRI on my spine. And there are 3 neurologists on staff wouldn't approve anything and wouldn't diagnose me. And then when they discharged me, even though I still couldn't walk or move, they gave me a piece of paper on how to prevent fall risks. And I tried to catch him after the ceremony and basically tell him what happened and that I was going to be pursuing legal action because they aren't following state law, and I actually couldn't find him after, but that was something I was about to debate with him and bring up. But this whole, like, it's hard not to be angry. It's hard not to, like, hold grudges because I've lost, like, almost, like, 20 years of my life, 20 plus years have just been a struggle. Like, all these issues I have now, they're not even, like, look at my hands. Like, they're, like, old lady hands. That's how it's always been since I was little. Like, it's been hard for me to grip things. It's been hard for me to grab onto things. Like, my whole life, I've just been getting misdiagnosed. And these same issues have just, like, intensified. Like, it wasn't like they just appeared out of nowhere one day. It was just like, oh, they finally won. But I'll be starting treatment right after this. And it's hard to even remember things to say to y'all and even bring up. But that's what's going on at this point. And I set up a mini fridge and a few bowls next to the bed. You can use your imagination on what I'll need those bowls for. But I'm about to get ready and do this, and we're going to be starting off low and building it up. And I mean, all these meds, these antibiotics are basically just going to keep my body, my system from shutting down and slowly kill the infections that are, inside my body, but they won't be able to penetrate my blood-brain barrier, which is, obviously the scariest part of my late-stage Lyme disease. And I'm going to need a port. So we're still working on that, but hopefully in the next 6 weeks, I'll be okay and everything will work out. But thank you guys for all of your support. Please keep sharing. And sorry, I'm sweating. I'm always just sweating. Like, it's just so gross. It's like moisture everywhere. But yeah, I'll keep updating everyone. Just please keep sharing my fundraiser. It's gonna be a lot if we have to pay. We were expecting $50K a year about, but it's just like when you just hear it from a doctor, it's just a lot to take in because it's just been so hard to get to this point. And then when you find out what it is, you still can't get help. But thank you all. Have a nice night.